Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. He's wearing gold trimmed with black. In his corner is his trainer, Roy Jones Jr. He weighed in officially at 175 pounds. His professional record, 25 victories, including 10 big wins by knockout, 5 defeats, 2 draws from Blantyre, Malawi. He is the challenger. He's the WBC International Light Heavyweight Champion, Isaac Golden Boy Chilemba. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner with his trainer, Gennady Mashionov, wearing black with red and officially weighing in at 174.6 pounds. His record, a perfect one. 13 fights, 13 victories, including 11 wins by knockout from St. Petersburg, Russia. He is the reigning, defending, undefeated WBA light heavyweight champion of the world, Dimitry Bivol.
Ready? Okay, seconds out. Chief seconds, fighter, center of the ring, please. All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules earlier. Most important, protect yourself at all times, obey my commands at all times, and give me a good, clean break. Mouthpiece. Mouthpiece. Touch gloves, good luck.
Isaac Chilemba is a good fighter, a world-class fighter, a contender who's scored upsets. Not one or two, several upsets throughout his career. Coming in as the opponent, he is in tonight against Dimitry Bivol, Jim, who is trying to become one of the elite fighters in the sport. And he may already be there in skill and in talent, if not in resume.
At the voice, of course, of the omnipresent Max Kellerman. Millions of people in America now hear it every single weekday in their living rooms. And it's always our privilege to have him on HBO's World Championship Boxing as Chilemba and Bivol get underway in the first round. Max, we saw the reach advantage and functional weight advantage coming in for Chilemba. How can he use them?
I don't think it's good. I don't think his size, other than maybe to absorb some of these power shots, if that helps him, is really at issue here. I think Chilemba's whole fight is about distance and timing. He needs to be either way outside Bivol's power, where he can try to catch him with his jab, or he needs to be inside of Bivol's power.
And Bivol has already landed a left hook and a right cross upstairs, and now a hard body shot as well. So early on, Chilemba has had a chance to taste Bivol's power, and it has been deadly for most of Bivol's opponents so far.
Chilemba, people recall, gave Kovalev, right before the Andre Ward fight, a very good fight. Even when he's lost, usually, it's been to elite fighters, and he's given them tough fights often.
He lost a very close decision to Eleider Alvarez, the man who will be facing Kovalev in the main event later on tonight.
But in his last several fights against elite fighters, his results have been declining. And in Bivol, he's in with a guy who is devastating in exchanges, Jim.
Exactly, and you just saw the hard left hook for Bivol in that last exchange, and already in the first round, he appears to be softening Chilemba up.
And Chilemba just showed a good defense there, catching that hook with his right glove. He was in responsible defensive position, but you saw it happened because as he was jabbing, Bivol turned it into an exchange. And in those kind of exchanges, Bivol's hands are quick, his shots are accurate, and they carry concussive force.
People ask me, what kind of problem will Bivol cause for Kovalev if ultimately they meet? And you can see it. He's bouncy, he's athletic, he's vibrant, he's energetic, he's fast, he's moving all the time in the ring.
It's the combination that is so rare of athletically gifted and also highly skilled. Oftentimes the more gifted fighters don't need of necessity to become the most skillful fighters. He's a fast, twitchy, hard punching, athletic fighter who's supremely skilled.
Bivol, originally born in Kyrgyzstan, moved from Kyrgyzstan to Russia as a young boy, and he says, I'm a Russian. I am culturally Russian. I am raised Russian. I am Russian in every way. In fact, when faced with the question of whether he's eager to fight Kovalev, the first thing he'll say is, I would prefer to fight an opponent who isn't a Russian. But in this division, you don't have many choices.
If the fans want it, he'll give it to him.
A couple times you got him really good. He's opening up. A left hook is really getting in there. When you keep him on the ropes, just feint.
Now, Chilemba is the unorthodox, tricky guy, Jim, right, who can destroy your timing. Yet look what Bivol does with that hook. Look at the deception in it in order to land it. That's just a straight jab in an exchange. And here the right hand over the top, he disguises it as though he's shooting it to the body, but throws it over the top almost like an overhand right, and of course it lands. He's a varied offense, and he's able to improvise.
And you pointed out the problem early on. What does Chilemba have in the way of firepower to keep Bivol off of him, to in some way force Bivol to hesitate about firing those dynamic power shots? And so far, we haven't seen it.
Bivol's mind works quickly, and that's trouble for a boxer like Chilemba, who needs to outthink his opponent, and there, that hook hurt Chilemba.
He's wobbled already as round 2 begins, and Bivol steps in to look for an early stoppage.
Bivol's
hard right hand upstairs. Another right hand. Chilemba looking for space, and there isn't any. Backed into a corner by Bivol. Left hook, right cross. This is tremendous combination punching by the young champion, who seems to know exactly what he's doing.
Well, there's a feeling about Eastern European fighters that they're a little bit paint by numbers. And if you can disrupt them, if you can get kind of in between the numbers, you can do something. But in fact, what I see from Bivol here is he's getting in between Chilemba's numbers. It's his rhythm that's upsetting Chilemba's. In addition to being the quicker, harder hitting, more accurate fighter, he's also been the craftier guy.
Yeah, he's sudden, he's creative, and the power is extraordinary. Chilemba now trying to use his very good jab to create some space and occupy Bivol. They can pay attention. Left hook again for Bivol. That was more of a slap than a hard hit.
Bivol's distance and timing are exquisite.
That left up through the middle, a much harder shot.
Look, see, Bivol's not there for Chilemba to hit. Bivol's the aggressive boxer puncher, and yet he's also the guy making Chilemba lead when he doesn't want to, hitting him in between Chilemba's bounces, throwing him off with his rhythm.
Mentioned that Bivol says, I'm all Russian. The fact is, in terms of training, he is a Los Angeles fighter. He comes to Los Angeles to prepare for fights. He trains at 2 gyms, primarily in LA, Wildcard and Legends, where there are outstanding sparring partners. He gets the work that he needs and constantly progresses toward his goal of being the #1 light heavyweight in the world.
Jim, about 20 seconds ago, there was a good exchange of jabs that shows what we're talking about here. Chilemba throws his, and Bivol's out of range. He lures Chilemba into throwing it, but he's really out of punching range with his legs. All he has to do is make a little move with his upper body backward, and the jab hits air. And then in between bounces, Chilemba's bounces, Bivol comes in and rakes him with a left jab.
Chilemba tried a left hook, landed on Bivol's shoulder.
Showing superior timing, rhythm.
Another hard left hook for Bivol.
Power, speed, and accuracy.
Time!
August 28th marks the premiere of the LeBron James new conversation series, The Shop, with special guests Odell Beckham Jr., Snoop Dogg, and Jon Stewart. Later that night, 24/7 kicks off the countdown to next month's highly anticipated rematch between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin, which comes your way September 15, only on HBO pay-per-view. Biggest fight of the year, Max.
Oh, yeah. And it'll be better than the first one, I think. And the first one was great.
Entirely different emotional context this time around. No longer a sports event between 2 guys who tend to respect and like each other.
Well, the only thing it didn't have was the grudge match element, and now it has that too. Here's the left hook that Bivol hurt him with. It was a wide left hook. It was an arm punch. It was improvised, actually, in order to land, and yet it did damage. And what that tells you, Jim, is if Bivol lands his Sunday best, we're going home early.
In the first two rounds here, Chilemba has landed in single digits in both rounds. And Bivol opponents have now landed in single digits in 20 consecutive rounds, dating back to Samuel Clarkson 5 fights ago. So his defense, to some degree, it's his offense. That is his defense, but it is forbidding. You just don't get in many chances.
That's exactly right. That's the distinction. It's a lot of times with really good offensive fighters on the way up, they're fighting limited opposition. The other guy doesn't want to take chances because of the power, the speed, and so they don't throw a lot of punches. In Bivol's case, it's also a tricky defense. Because this is now, he fought Sullivan Barrera last time out. Barrera, a good, undefeated, well-schooled fighter, and he dominated Barrera. Tough fight, but dominated him and stopped him. And here Chilemba also, a really well-schooled, awkward fighter, capable of scoring upsets. He's done it oftentimes in the past, and Chilemba has no answer so far.
By my count, Bivol stopped 5 jabs in a row from Chilemba with his right glove. Caught them all. So among other things, his reflexes are remarkable.
Balance is really good. Distance is really good. And watch how he takes that little bounce in, and he kind of entices Chilemba to throw a stay away from me jab, a keep off me jab. And then the jab hits air, and now Chilemba's open for Bivol to counter.
Let's say we still hit. Another quick counter left hook by Dimitry Bivol.
Even when Chilemba's first, he's being induced to be first by Bivol, so it's really Bivol dictating the action.
Hard left hook to the body by Bivol. Right hand upstairs and another hard left hook to the body by Bivol. Showing a lot of variety in his attack. Another left hook to the body, and he drives Chilemba back.
He's varying the speed and the power of those shots.
Right hand lands upstairs. Left hook lands upstairs. These are all landed punches by Bivol, I'm calling here. Another tremendous left hook. Chilemba is paying a big price just to make it through the first 3 rounds against Dimitry Bivol.
Bivol uses the angles well, and Chilemba's got to feel surrounded at times.
Roy Jones told us yesterday that he felt this fight was as much about self-belief for Chilemba as anything else. That this is not a technical enterprise for him. This is about the question of how much longer does he have in his career and how much commitment can he bring to it.
Give up so much. You know, they don't give him so many big shots. But we're in control. All right, on his head a little bit. You feel me? And remember, if you attack,
I got the it's wet. It's wet.
Get that fight. You feel me? When you see him as he throw at you, come to that fight. Our goal is he already getting sloppy. Okay? I seen him throw a sloppy hook just now. We get a second.
Here's the fight in microcosm. Bivol punches Chilemba in the face with a combination. That's what's been going on.
Three rounds in the books, and as we get ready for the 4th, let's check in with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman. Harold, how do you have it through 3?
Okay, Jim, I got a 30-27, 3 rounds to nothing, Dimitry Bivol.
Sounds as though we may have had some sort of an audio problem with Harold. We'll get more from him as the evening progresses, but as you heard, 30-27 for Bivol, 3 10-9 rounds. No 10-8 rounds yet, but a couple of them have been somewhat one-sided, although I agree with Harold, not yet to the point of 10-8.
Jim, I don't mean by CompuBox count. I mean by what you would really consider a landed punch, like a flush landed punch. Has Chilemba landed one tonight? I mean, even the ones that land are mostly deflected by Bivol's hands. Aren't like that, for example. I didn't. If you're in a fight and you do that, you don't think you hit the guy.
I think he might have landed a couple of body shots, but for instance, by CompuBox count, 7 lands in the last round. That's 21 consecutive rounds in which Bivol's opponents have landed in single digits. And, you know, a mark of what you've been saying, Max, that he's not just a terrific offensive fighter, but also a competent defender, and he lands another thudding left hook on Айзек Chilemba.
Yeah, like that jab that Chilemba threw, you want to say it grazed Bivol. Okay, actually Bivol's catching it with his gloves. None of them are really landing. They're really not landing. I can't say I recall one clean shot from Chilemba this entire fight.
Bivol blocks the left hand with his right glove there, catches the right with his left glove. Unlike Kovalev, who never really made it to the top of the amateur pyramid in Russia in this weight class, Bivol was celebrated, was nurtured by the federation to every degree possible. He was the Russian light heavyweight superstar. He has a totally different pedigree coming in than had been the case for Sergey Kovalev, who's really done it the hard way. Came here for his professional career more or less on his own from Russia after not having been able to get past Matvey Korobov and Artur Beterbiev, who were the reigning stars of Russian amateur boxing at that time.
We're going to see Kovalev in a little while in tough against Alvarez. I mean, that's Alvarez is an undefeated, worthy mandatory challenger, and that's a tough opponent. So he has a tougher assignment, I think, tonight than Bivol is having right now. One of these two guys, I think, Jim, is the best light heavyweight in the world. It's Bivol or Kovalev. And boy, Kovalev's going to have to be very impressive to make me believe that at this moment he's better than this.
Four rounds complete here. Айзек Chilemba just trying to keep his thumb in the dike against Dmitry Bivol as Sergey Kovalev smiles in his dressing room while the left glove is being applied. And you see, born in the town that was hit by a meteor during his teen years, and his sensational streak en route to the top of the division. He knocked out 26 out of 33 opponents before back-to-back losses to Andre Ward. The first one, an extremely controversial decision loss, and then the second one, a loss in which he was leading on scorecards, on 2 scorecards, got caught with a right hand in the 8th round, and Ward proceeded with a fierce body assault that prompted referee Tony Weeks to stop the fight. Since that time, 2 easy knockouts for Kovalev. And now as we come back, we think we squared away our Harold Lederman audio situation. So let's check back in with Harold for his scoring through 4. Harold?
Okay, Jim, I got it 4-0, 40-36, Dmitry Bivol. You know, Jim, he's landed a tremendous left hook. He's doing a great job with the left hook, and that's doing most of the damage in this fight so far. You know, he throws combinations, but most of the damage is with that left jab. Notice he throws a good hard left jab, but watch the hook. He's got a left hook that he throws. You know, he leads with the left hook, and it's doing a tremendous amount of damage most of the time to Chilemba's head rather than Chilemba's body. Anyway, 4-0, Dmitry Bivol.
I agree with Harold that the hook is effective, and he hasn't even really landed one of his good hooks yet. Bivol told us, Jim, yesterday, that every time he goes in the ring, it's not enough to be the winner. He wants to be in a beautiful fight because people love beautiful fights.
Chilemba just landed a punch.
And the question
lands another one. Go ahead.
The question is now, that especially as you mentioned, Chilemba's getting in a little rhythm and opening up a little more. Can he make a beautiful fight? Not just a dominant fight, but a fight, the kind of fight people remember. And for Bivol, admittedly, he says, that means a knockout.
How many great light heavyweights over the years have you seen, Max, who are as lightning quick as Dmitry Bivol, both with their hands and their feet?
Well, I mean, the guy in Chilemba's corner tonight fought at light heavy
That's right.
for a while and was lightning quick with his hands and his feet, Roy Jones.
That's exactly right. How about Michael Spinks?
Michael Spinks was fast and just an enormous puncher at light heavyweight. But Spinks and like Bob Foster and those kind of guys were much bigger light heavyweights than Bivol. Bivol's not a big light heavyweight. He's a smaller, athletic light heavyweight.
Another left hook for Bivol. Chilemba weathers it pretty well. Isaac Chilemba is tough. If he weren't tough, he wouldn't still be in there after the kind of fusillade he's taken early on, particularly from Bivol's left hook. Historically, through the years, Max, boxing fans tend to think of great knockout punchers in terms of the big right hand, but I think you'll find a lot of great knockout punchers whose major weapon was really the left hook.
Sure, the crooked punch. But you mentioned that Chilemba landed some shots early in the round. He landed a body shot, really nice one, about 20 seconds ago. He's landed, to my eye, Jim, every actual punch, flush punch that he's landed has occurred in this round. And I wonder if that is an indication that Bivol is now putting the defense away a little bit and starting to want to really mix it up with Chilemba.
5 rounds in.
Fight this guy!
What you feeling?
Bring the bucket up, please.
Feeling good? Man, listen, you look like a fucking champ. You hear me? You look like a fucking champ to me. You feel me? You look like a fucking champ. You now have control. Now we can start fighting. You want to. Because this is round 6 coming. So now's our time to start taking over. Now we start doing more shit too. But let's be smart and sharp. Don't give him nothing off of it. Because the more we do, the more he's going to try to count him 20, okay? But now we going, huh?
Oh, we're picking up a lot around.
And guess what? When you get close to him, he can't fight at all. So if you're going to walk on there and take after the right, get on close to him, but keep working. Terrorists don't break.
Вот когда у канатов, он, видишь, пытается сразу сократить, схватить,
He's trying to cut you. He's trying to.
Вот он должен на этот левый боковой нарваться.
He's trying to rub you up.
Well, you heard the pep talk from Roy Jones, trying to give a more positive outlook to Isaac Chilemba, and I think it was well timed in the sense that, to the degree that Chilemba's had a good round, that was definitely it.
The job of a trainer, who's usually also the corner man, the chief second in the corner of the fight night. Obviously, most of it is to get the guy prepared for the fight, training camp. But the job of the trainer as corner man is distinct from that in many ways. And one of those ways is that you have to instill the fighter with confidence, especially at crossroads in the fight. And that's what Roy was trying his best to do. Their first, camp together. So it's not as though Chilemba's going to be the same product he'd be if Roy had him for a while. But what Roy can do in the corner is to try to paint a rosy picture when Chilemba has success and make him feel confident enough to continue that success.
Cutman, whom you heard yelling, "Fight this guy," is Russ Anber from Montreal. Great veteran of the sport, whom Roy respects a great deal. Sometimes when trainers aren't around to train the fighter, Anber will do that in the gym. Now Bivol is using the jab primarily in this round, working up and down with the jab after having thrown mostly power punches for the first several rounds.
You see why Roy wants more activity from Chilemba, because even though it opens him up for exchanges where Bivol is very dangerous, he's having some success when he actually moves his hands. Chilemba is.
And if Chilemba's left hand below his waist, I wonder why Dimitry Bivol doesn't fire a rocket right hand right across the top.
I have a feeling one of those is coming pretty soon, Jake, but
there's a right hand. There's another right hand.
It may hasten his demise to open up with Bivol, but otherwise, what's your chance to win? At least give yourself a chance to win.
Chilemba may think he wants to invite the right hand so he can counter with a left hook. Other than that, I don't see a good reason for him to be holding his left below his waist.
Right hand usually beats the left hook to the target because it's a straight punch. Shortest distance between 2 points.
2 steps.
think Chilemba's fought better in the last couple rounds. And Bivol, if he wants to make a beautiful fight, I think now has to step up the intensity and reassert his total dominance.
September 5, it's the return of my show, The Fight Game. We'll preview the September 15 Canelo Alvarez-Gennady Golovkin rematch, and we've been shooting a feature piece all weekend on the return of boxing to Atlantic City. And then we'll also look ahead to the September 8 Boxing After Dark Superfly triple header, headlined by Juan Francisco Estrada versus Felipe Oracuta.
This is 7th round. This is half the fight. You're doing great. You're doing great on TV. You're looking very good. Train him. Go to left. Go to right. Use lateral movement.
Last time to hang on, make him keep fighting. You fight it from here to the end, you won't be here or we'll get a victory. All right? Give me something? Huh? Give me something? Let's go then.
Keep your hands
My
up,
man.
Isaac.
Through round 6, halfway through the fight, Bivol has landed 53% of his power shots. Many times over the years, we've told you, if somebody lands more than 50% of his power shots, he has practically no chance whatsoever to lose the fight. And Bivol is ahead by 60-54 on Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard. There's a right hand that gets an ooh and ah from the crowd.
I heard Roy in the corner. I think what I heard Roy say is that if you fight him from here on like that, either you won't be here in the end or we'll get the victory. In other words, you got to risk it if you want to try and win. Might get knocked out, but you might win if you throw your hands. And otherwise, you're sure to lose. And Chilemba's following the instructions, by the way. He stepped up the pace.
Well, sometimes the trainer has to be promotional in the corner, and sometimes he has to tell the truth.
Well, when Chilemba has taken Roy's advice, he's had more success than he was having.
Bivol showing his defensive skills again. Blocks a right with the left hand, blocks a left with the right hand. Another catch for Dimitry Bivol.
It is curious to me that Bivol isn't countering when he's making Chilemba miss, because he has those kind of precise counterpunching skills.
I'm wondering if he's cutting it a little too fine, trying to be perfect. There's a right hand over the top by Bivol.
I think that's exactly right, Jim.
He wants to fire the one big knockout shot.
And he doesn't want to make any mistakes. He's trying to fight a mistake-free fight, Bivol.
And you're suggesting the knockout might come more quickly if he takes more risks or and is willing to make a few mistakes here and there.
Or maybe, in Bivol's case, it's not even really risk-taking. It's simply asserting his offense, you know, more intensely. I don't know how much of a risk that actually poses, because he's also, seems to me, to be the better defensive fighter.
Well, and I don't think Chilemba has the power to knock Bivol out.
Right.
Even if he were to make a colossal mistake, I just don't believe that would happen.
We just saw Bivol open up on the offense. Chilemba countered him with a very well-timed right hand. Seemed to hit Bivol on the chin, and nothing happened.
If nothing else, Bivol is making Chilemba work with his constant footwork and movement, energy.
Much better last 3 rounds for Chilemba than the first 4.
It's begun to limit Bivol's offense, and meanwhile there's Eleider Alvarez, who has lived in Montreal ever since the beginning of his professional career after having represented Colombia in the 2008 Olympics. 21 of his 23 fights in Canada. He was one of those people who had the misfortune of becoming the mandatory opponent for Adonis Stevenson. And what being a mandatory opponent for Adonis Stevenson means is that you're not going to fight him because Stevenson does not fight against his mandatories, and therefore Alvarez, while waiting for his title shot, waited through a 14-month layoff and finally figured out, okay, this guy's never going to fight me, and managed to get himself into the very propitious position of fighting a bigger name, better fighter in Sergey Kovalev here tonight.
Yeah, the mandate is you don't get a title shot, apparently, against Superman Stevenson.
Stevenson not terribly interested in supporting the competitive structure of the sport. Harold, how do you have it through 7?
Okay, Jim, I got it 7-0, 70-63, Dimitry Bivol. You know, Jim, he's landing the hardest shots. The punches are pretty close. You know, in other words, they both landed the same amount of punches, but Dimitry Bivol certainly landing the hardest shots, doing more damage, landing that left jab constantly. 7-0, Dimitry Bivol.
Well, I'll give this much credit to Chilemba. We watched this fight for a longer period of time than I thought would be the case. I told a few friends that I thought this would be relatively brief based on their psychological profiles coming into the fight. But Roy Jones has done a good job of selling Isaac Chilemba on how to stay in here and compete. And Bivol has not been able to find the combination that puts all these power-landed shots in position for the knockout.
Yeah, I think also, Jim, the way the fight began with Bivol being better at all the things Chilemba maybe had an advantage in going into the fight, timing and such, that it looked like what can Chilemba possibly do? But through his toughness and determination, he seemed to have weathered at least the first storm from Bivol, and now he's fighting back. And I don't know that he's won any rounds, but at least he's competitive over the last 3.
And we've seen this before in the sense that Chilemba interrupted Kovalev's long, torrid knockout streak on Kovalev's home turf in Ekaterinburg, Russia, a few years ago, and forced Kovalev to go the distance, even though Kovalev floored him early and dominated the fight. Chilemba won a few rounds and managed to make Kovalev work for the victory in Russia. He knows how to box and he knows how to fight. And that's what's keeping him afloat so far against Dimitry Bivol.
Well, Chilemba's also been able over the last several rounds to think with Bivol. In the first 4, it looked like Bivol's mind was working too quickly for Chilemba, not just his body. But now they're jousting in such a way, they're fencing in such a way that it appears that Chilemba's able to keep up the kind of mental pace. Tactically, he's countering, he's starting to establish his rhythm so that even when he's getting hit, he's getting his shots off too.
So what's the learning process here tonight for young Bivol?
Well, I think it depends on, we have to wait and see what happens here. If Bivol can figure out how to get the stoppage win, then he will have figured out a tricky opponent who didn't cave, early simply because Bivol had the upper hand, who made his own adjustments that Bivol would then have to adjust to. He did it against Sullivan Barrera. If he did it against here, I think it would demonstrate that the resume is starting to catch up with the ability and the talent.
Bivol had a 12th round knockout against Sullivan Barrera in what was regarded as a very serious test the last time out.
The reason we're not tired as he is because he used to have his way at this point. Hold it. He used to have his way at this point, right? He's not having his way right now. He's like a panicking child. He just threw a right hand at you over here that could not have knocked you down. You feel me? You can't let him set up one, but he's so tired that he's just trying to throw the out punch you now.
Wait.
Okay? He's strictly throwing for out punching.
Левый на повторе, левый по воздуху даешь ему. Не давай по себе попадать, не давай по себе.
Don't let him hit here. Don't let him hit here. He's getting tired. He's getting tired. Couple more rounds and you'll be able to get him out of here.
Both trainers telling their fighters that the opponent is getting tired. Only makes sense. They've worked through 8 rounds. They go to the 9th of a scheduled 12. Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard, still a round-by-round shutout for Bivol. CompuBox numbers through round 8. Bivol 105 out of 299 and Chilemba 52 out of 305. So they're throwing about the same number of punches, and Bivol is landing at twice the percentage by CompuBox count. In the last round, for the first time in the fight, Chilemba actually outlanded Bivol, landing 9 punches to 7 for Bivol. But still, Bivol continues his streak of limiting the opponent to single-digit lands in every round for the last 5 fights.
I agree that Bivol's been winning the rounds. Last 4, although Chilemba, as I mentioned, is competitive in all of them. Maybe even increasingly competitive in each one. But Bivol, it's not that he's lost control of the fight, but he's no longer dictating everything that's happening in there. And Chilemba's often first and taking the initiative. That's why he landed the hook we just saw, by the way.
And all that happens simply because Chilemba managed to get a little confidence and get his sea legs.
I think Chilemba also had 3 rounds to look at Bivol and see what he brought to the table and make adjustments.
Bivol just threw a roundhouse right that he might have to end matters if he had landed it, but it was a glancing blow. One thing's for sure, Bivol's in spectacular shape. To be able to bounce and circle this way constantly from round to round shows the kind of work he puts in between fights.
See, there we have again, Bivol has not been using his offense after making Chilemba miss defensively. You know, he slipped a punch and Chilemba's way off balance, threw a wild right hand, and there was no counter from Bivol. He was happy enough to just be out of the way of the punch and then reset.
Now in this round, we're back to the more familiar pattern as Bivol has landed 9 out of 21 and Chilemba only 4 out of 34. And Bivol lands a quick little left hook and lands a hard right hand. Very good round for Dimitry Bivol. August 7, be ready for 5 weeks of hard knocks training camp with the Cleveland Browns. Follow new additions such as Baker Mayfield, Tyrod Taylor, and Jarvis Landry as the new-look Browns attempt to bring a winning tradition back to Cleveland. Tuesday, August 21, make sure to catch an all-new installment of Real Sports.
Don't get a big shot. Walking down, even after you throw 2 or 3 big shots, you got 3 rounds left, okay?
So I give him that round?
You gave him that round. Because you didn't go to him and do enough, you didn't push him back enough.
You're
no,
still staying too far outside.
Yeah, too far outside. I need you to get him close to him and make him fight. When he got 3 rounds, he quit. When he bounced around doing all this shit, his arm tied, he don't know how to react right now. He never did this but once. He don't know how to react right now. You way better than some.
Вообще потерялся. Понял, вообще потерялся. Вот твоя работа.
Roy Jones working hard in Isaac Chilemba's corner.
I think
he'll be joining us for the main event.
I think effectively, Chilemba, his body language at least, and I've seen this in the past from him, but tonight I've seen it as well. You know, shoulders slope, kind of looks defeated at times, and Roy isn't letting him kind of give in to that. I'm not saying he would anyway, but Roy's helping pick him up, I think, and instill him with confidence.
Well, I'll tell you what, Roy Jones is a motivator. If he tells me to get my energy level up, it's going to go up. No question about it. He's an extremely persuasive human being. Pass combination by Bivol. In and out. Lands 2 or 3 clean shots. Steps away before Chilemba can retaliate. Hard shot by Chilemba. Another exchange. Chilemba willing to trade, puts himself at risk. Bivol getting the better of it.
And now Bivol trying to counter off Chilemba's misses.
Left hook by Bivol momentarily moves Chilemba. Yes. Right hand over the top.
Yes, just begin the fight. Given Chilemba's weight advantage here on fight night right now. He unofficially weighed in heavier than Bivol by 8 pounds or so.
He's an inch and a half taller. He's 5 pounds heavier here on fight night. That's another thing that has helped Айзек Chilemba to stay in the combat despite all the early hard shots that Bivol was able to land.
Right, you'd expect he can absorb shots maybe better with a little extra weight. I mean, certainly it's appeared that way so far tonight.
Maybe the end of round 10. Again, Bivol had to work this hard for 11 full rounds against Sullivan Barrera in the last fight before finally putting him away with a knockout in the 12th.
Although in that fight, he landed more, I think, punishing blows along the way to Barrera, you know, en route to that 12th round knockout. And he hasn't really sustained a punishing attack against Chilemba since the 3rd or 4th round.
Several rounds ago, we visited Sergey Kovalev's dressing room, and he was smiling as his left glove was being put in place. In moments, we'll go back and take another look to see how it is in Kovalev's dressing room and then in the opponent, and later Alvarez. There's Sergey, the crusher, back to the scene of one of his greatest victories in Atlantic City, where he beat Bernard Hopkins in November of 2014 by unanimous and shutout decision. Knocked Hopkins down in the first round with the first serious right hand that he threw. And here's a guy who used to be a right-hand puncher as an amateur. Later, Alvarez crushed his knuckles on the right hand at the very end of his amateur career, and as the result of that, had to learn to become more of an all-around boxer, which he did in Montreal via the training of the man you saw working the pads there, Mark Ramsey. Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It used to be the Taj Mahal, and you wouldn't recognize it if you used to come to the Taj Mahal. It's been totally remodeled, brilliantly rebuilt, very attractive hotel and casino here on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, and the scene of tonight's boxing doubleheader on HBO's World Championship Boxing. Promoter Kathy Duva told us that she sold out at 4:30 this afternoon. So the first major boxing card in Atlantic City in nearly 4 years is a sellout. And we asked Kathy who bought the tickets that produced the sellout tonight, and she said it's the Gatti crowd. It's the same people who used to come watch Arturo Gatti fight after fight when he had 9 consecutive sellouts here on the boardwalk.
Kathy Duva's, main events DNA. That's a promotional outfit that really promoted fights, didn't simply act as middlemen for TV, but really promoted fights and fighters and developed an audience for the fights.
Since her husband's unfortunate demise due to cancer way back in the early 1990s, Kathy Duva has remained and endured as a legitimate force in boxing because, as you say, Max, she's not just a middle person, she's a promoter, an old school type.
Hustling for her fighters and her company and getting what, meat in the seats, selling out places with local fans of boxing.
And the driving force right now in the heavyweight division, as she represents as the promoter both Kovalev and Bivol.
Right. They have a history of developing local attractions, developing fighters into local attractions here in this area.
Going all the way back to the days of Totowa, New Jersey, and Lou Duva in the corner.
Nice ring.
Rick clean.
And the reason we're talking about this is because Bivol isn't putting on the kind of show that is compelling us to discuss the action in the ring.
No, he's playing out the string right now.
Playing out the string, and it's very high expectations for him. But look, he, by his own admission, wants to be an elite fighter, wants to be a pound-for-pound entrant, wants to be the best fighter in the division. Unify the belts, all those things. Well, the bar is set very high. And
Айзек Chilemba, who came in with 5 losses and 2 draws, just isn't an easy guy to knock out. Ask Sergey Kovalev.
Well, but Vozek did it.
Vozek, after 8 rounds, managed to force a stoppage against Айзек Chilemba. That was a rare accomplishment.
It was. You can't assume the spectacular, but I think that's what we're here for. We have our eye on Bivol because we think he can be spectacular.
And it's interesting, Bodzik is not thought of as big a puncher as Bivol. He does it with a laser jab and constant activity.
Okay. We came to a point now, and we got to knock him out. Listen. We don't knock him out right now, we're not going to get the decision. Okay? We let him have too much, and we let him walk around and have it way too much.
There's nothing left. There's nothing left. Give it all. But don't force it. Don't force it. Use your jab and then combinations. 1-2, 1-2. And the left hook. Finish it with the left hook.
Что в атаке, что в ответ.
Okay? Okay?
Bivol's longtime trainer, Gennady Mashianov, urging him to, quote, give it all, but then be careful. Don't take too many risks. And Roy Jones bluntly telling Айзек Chilemba, you need to knock him out. Interesting that Harold Letterman is giving both the last 2 rounds to Chilemba after 9 straight rounds for Bivol. And Chilemba has thrown more punches than Bivol in each of the last 5 rounds. However, Bivol continues his streak through 11 rounds here tonight of limiting the opponent to single digits landed punches in the round. Not a single round tonight has Chilemba been able to land in double digits against Dimitry Bivol.
Bivol's put on a good performance. He's a very good fighter. Over the first 3 rounds, he looked like a guy who people would start to say, boy, you know, once he beats another elite fighter in the division, where do you put him on the pound-for-pound list? And since the 4th round, he looks like a guy who is really, really good and maybe still room to develop a little bit more.
And how much of that is because Roy Jones coaxed the veteran Chilemba, who is known to be a guy who goes the distance, as he did against Kovalev, into greater self-belief and a more competitive posture in the fight.
I think that has something to do with it. I think Chilemba's quality as a veteran fighter has something to do with it.
I think the 5-pound weight advantage coming into the ring might have something to do with it.
And Bivol maybe is still a little green.
I'm sure that if you asked Bivol, he would opt for the I'm still a little green.
Right.
He prefers the modest perspective. That's one thing about Bivol. He'll make no excuses. He'll tell you, I'm still learning.
The most impressive thing about Chilemba is the adjustments he's made.
And the determination he's shown to go ahead and take whatever beating was going to ensue, to stay upright and stay in the fight.
To have the courage to be first sometimes against a guy who's very dangerous in exchanges, and to reestablish his own kind of rhythm and distance and timing so he could also land some of his shots.
But given the difficult journey that Chilemba has had in life, why would we have expected anything less?
5 seconds.
Just to be here has been an act of monumental endurance and perseverance for Айзек Chilemba. So they go the distance. Bivol landing 87 of 171 power punches, 51%. The 36 of 190 for Chilemba, 19%. More to the show, of course, than CompuBox numbers. Harold Letterman giving all of the last 3 to Chilemba. I could see the 10th and 11th. Not sure I would agree about the 12th. But at the end of the day, it tightens the Letterman scorecard, and we'll have to see what happens when we hear the official New Jersey scorecards. Not always do official judges conform to what we get from Harold. And here are the official judges for the fight, each with a certain number of title fights. None of them with the kind of numbers that you would see, for instance, in a top group of Las Vegas or New York or Connecticut judges, where you might see 60, 80, 100 championship fights. Let's take a look at the final CompuBox numbers. Total punches landed, Bivol more than doubling Chilemba, and landing at more than twice the connect percentage. Power shots, Bivol landing 51 more, landing at 51% to 19% for Chilemba. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official scores.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Hard Rock Hotel Casino of Atlantic City, we go to the scorecards after 12 rounds. Henry Grant and Ron McNair both score the fight 120 to 108. George Hill has it 116 to 112. All three scores go to the winner by unanimous decision. Still the undefeated WBA light heavyweight champion of the world, Dimitry Bivol.
Interesting look on Bivol's face as he heard the score from Judge George Hill, who had it 8 rounds to 4. Both other judges 12 rounds to nothing, and it looked as though Bivol probably agreed with the 120 to 108.
I thought that was a possible range of scores. There were 4 competitive rounds that you, if you were generous, could have given to Chilemba.